Brought to you by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
Continuing our mission to bring you the very latest information, tips, and answer your questions that you may have about Guam's real estate market, the very lovely Gina from RE/MAX Diamond Realty Guam. Half a day, Gina.
Half a day.
All right, and you have brought with you an expert on the topic of surveying, which is something that everybody has questions about.
An absolute expert, yes. This is Dennis Balaktas.
Half a day, Dennis.
Hi.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Because I know surveying is very often misinterpreted. People don't really understand what they do, except they have that really cool equipment that they go out in the street and they just,
we see them. We see them out there all the time. But we receive a lot of questions from families, and honestly, we shouldn't be answering the questions for them. We can guide them in the right direction, and that's why Dennis is here to share his information with us. And one of the typical questions we get is, we get like mom and dad call and say, "Hey, Gina, we're trying to get everything squared away. We're trying to organize our family estate. We've got one piece of property and we've got 6 kids that we want to divide this property up equally. Where do we start?" And it actually starts with Dennis.
Okay, so Dennis, when you actually hit the job site and everything like that, what are some of the main things you focus on, and what are some of the questions that you typically address?
We generally try to answer any questions we have regarding the land management process, doing the surveying of boundaries of properties, and trying to make sure that the boundaries are where they're supposed to be, and we show them to people. Not a lot of people are aware of exactly where the boundary is, and so it is our job to show them where it is located.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I'd like to touch on, and Gina, I'll let you start the conversation because you guys have a lot of dialogue between you, and that's kind of like the point. Where does your responsibility as a realtor end, and then where does Dennis's begin? And hopefully, because I'm sure people have a lot of questions. They're asking you stuff about surveying that you're not supposed to answer, and Dennis, I'm sure that people ask you a lot of things about realty that you're not exactly in the market.
And that's correct. A lot of people come to us. They generally come to us. 90% of the reason they come to us is so that we can sell their property. Okay, and so if they come to us and ask us to sell their property, I always, especially with raw land and then with housing, you've got to show us where your boundaries are, and we're not able to determine that. A lot of people think if they give us the map, that shows us where the boundary is. It doesn't. It just tells me how big your property is. But actually, that's where Dennis comes in. We give him the map and we tell the sellers, you've got to hire his company to go there are other surveyors out there, but you hire them to go mark the boundary points. And Dennis, going back to the question about, if I have a family member, if I'm a parent who wants to, or an aunt, an uncle, or just, I really want to give the property to 6 of my good friends, but more importantly, I've got kids and I want to cut it up, and the property is 2,000 square meters, it's in Chalampago, and I want to cut it up equally among 6 kids. I come to you then and I ask you to do that. Is that possible?
Well, one of the things we do, we find out how much area we're dealing with. If you want to give it to 6 people, whether 6 people or 6 kids, we have to find out, are we going to be able to subdivide that property into 6? The property itself may not have enough area to support that. Maybe the zoning in that area is not supported to let you have 6 properties created. Those are the things that we can answer. If anybody has any questions, they should talk to us or any of the other surveyors, and they can help you, guide you through that process and give you more information about land, because land surveying is really just about finding enough information about the land so that they can help you make the decisions for the best use of their property and help you accomplish what you need to get done.
I have a question. If there is ever a dispute or, even like a confusion between neighbors, and we hear this all the time, people are like, there's a tree that goes over my property. Is it technically encroaching on somebody else's property? Typically, Gina, you've educated us about this over the years. A lawyer would come in, but Dennis, do people ever come directly to you and say, as far as what your surveys and, as far as what's on the map shows and everything like that, can you tell me where my property begins and ends?
Right, exactly. And that's one of a lot of the questions we get are exactly to that point, where we have to answer, where is this person's property? Is my neighbor encroaching against me? Is my fence in the proper location? Is the house in the proper location? in a lot of instances, those are exactly the questions we answer. And especially here in Guam, you have to have that question answered because you want your property to be in the best condition it can be and get as much information about that property as possible when it comes to buying and selling. Even when you're building a fence, you need to know exactly where to build it. You don't want to build a fence on your neighbor's property. They will get upset, and it's just not good for the public as well. So these are the questions we can help answer. We try to resolve it as best we can. We try to give the information that's out there, and that's one of the information that we really try to answer for other people.
You guys must be insanely busy with, you know, just a whole bunch of questions that you have to answer. Because I know Gina refers to, you find people in your work all the time. And she's like, you know, surveyors do this and surveyors do that, and we call in surveyors and everything. They literally are your avenging angels.
Well, in terms of identifying the property, absolutely. And the other thing that I caution people, if you're a landowner who's made the effort to have this survey done, don't be the one to show, if you're selling the property, for instance, a lot of sellers will say, well, I had this survey done a year ago, Gina. You could just go and look for the points and show. No, I cannot. Number one, I can't guarantee the points are still exactly where the surveyor put them. I cannot guarantee that at all. There are instances where an owner had the property surveyed a year ago, showed me where those points were. I sold the property and found out down the road that those points weren't where the surveyor originally put them for one reason or another. It has happened. People have moved the points, but you cannot stand there and look and say, oh yeah, that point was moved. There's no way to figure that out. So I insist, if you're going to use a surveyor to mark the survey points, the surveyor should be the one to show the points to whoever is asking the question. All
right, well, Dennis, since you are our guest, final word is yours. If people would like more information, or how can they contact you if they have questions that you can answer?
They can contact us through our website, www.guamsurveyor.com, or they can give our office a call, 637-2042. We're right in Jigo. And taking care of the land is one of the most important aspects of land ownership. And being able to determine where your boundaries are and building the fence in the proper location, house in the proper location, is an important part of that.
All right, well, thank you very much. Please come back
Absolutely.
anytime. And Gina, you have an unlimited number of friends, and we always welcome them here to our Harmon Studios.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, please stay tuned, everybody. We're back after this.